And we've had a pretty active afternoon and evening. Multiple hail reports coming in out of southern Illinois and also western Kentucky. Even some wind damage reports just west of Murray there. So lots of activity. Luckily, things are starting to calm down a bit, but hail definitely the big story that we were kind of focusing on earlier today as all those reports were coming in. This was out of Johnson City, so thank you to Caitlin for sending this in. It was pretty large hail that did fall. The largest amount I saw reports of about 1.25 inches across. So it was pretty active earlier. Luckily, seeing some quiet time on radar, still tracking that pocket of some rain off to our northeast there. Hopefully it stays like that. Severe thunderstorm watch still in place, at least for part of the region. It looks like it was expired for some of us. So Jefferson County, Hamilton, Franklin was expired for you guys, but we're still seeing it for part of southern Illinois, at least for another 2 hours or so. Keeping an eye on all of that. And of course, on top of that, the heat. We're tracking mid-90s for Poplar Bluff, right at 90 for Sparta, Carbondale. But then we travel over to Mount Vernon, it's much cooler. We're seeing a very large and dramatic temperature gradient across the region, and that's because of the outflow of those storms. So we saw the storms to our north, and now they're shifting to our northeast and then east. So Carmi, Harrisburg, you're seeing 60s and 70s, while Fredericktown and Piedmont are topping 100 degrees. Down into the Boot Hill, seeing mid-90s. Heat indices are really reflecting that as well. So it's feeling like 100 degrees for almost everyone in SEMO. Part of that heat starting to creep back into southern Illinois, but it's also still dealing with some of that outflow. Over the next couple of hours, still holding on to the 90s after the sun sets, dipping into the 80s, and we actually hold on to the 80s until after midnight. So we're staying warm for at least a while longer. Threat tracker was upped for today because of the heat and also because of the severe storms. I think tomorrow is pretty much a copy and paste of what we saw today. As we go into the weekend, that's where we see that better chance for hopefully just more so of the rain side of things and not as much storms, but both possible. And then into next week, we're still staying warm, not nearly as warm, and we're still seeing that chance for a couple of isolated storms. Still maybe seeing some pop-up storms into this evening, something we really got to watch. Temperatures in the 90s still. By 9 o'clock, cooling off a bit into the 80s. By midnight, still holding on to the 80s. Waking up early for your Friday, mid-70s. A couple of clouds here and there, but we're staying dry at least until we get into the later portion of the day. By 10 o'clock, already feeling like 100 degrees. So tomorrow, another very warm day. Those rain chances begin moving in and kind of popping up about mid-afternoon, early evening, extended across parts of southeastern Missouri into western Kentucky and Tennessee, and we're still staying very warm. So heat indices above 100 degrees, that rain chance really staying with us. So keeping an eye on our southern counties. That severe storm threat for tomorrow is still sticking around with us as well. So slight 2 out of 5 risk for maybe some severe development. Other areas seeing that 1 out of 5. Really going to come in handy to have the Storm Track 3 app. It did today with that watch we have in place, a couple of those severe thunderstorm warnings. On top of that, we have every heat alert you could pretty much have throughout our region. Heat advisory for our northern counties, excessive heat warning if you're more so in the center, and then a couple of our Boot Hill and then Tennessee counties with the excessive heat watch. So really going to be nice to have that Storm Track 3 app. Again, I think tomorrow is going to be kind of similar to today as far as heat and severe storm chances go. As we go into Saturday, that's going to be that better chance for hopefully more scattered to widespread rain. Fingers crossed we stay away from the severe side of things. And then really falling into July-like forecast just in time. We have 90s and a couple of isolated pop-up storms expected.
Summer's here, right?
I mean, it's very, very much summer.
It's very much so. All right. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks.